Shalom. Before I do anything, I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who do rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect that is scattered abroad. And with that, this is Brother Samah coming at you with another lesson, Lord will. This is edifying. So, not sure what I'm going to call this, but I was constantly thinking about how this world that we're living in, it's so draining. It drains the life out of you to where, you're at your job, drains you. If you have a woman, drains. If you're, constantly at home, it's, who knows, you may be, going into what Yashawamba from the Dallas camp was saying, man, the doomsday scrolling, man. You get so distracted with certain things and you just lose track of the time. These things happen, but it's like, we can't let these things happen to where it's like we get into a certain routine and we just get used to it. We get used to certain things where it's just letting time go by. Because time is moving faster, man. The time is quickening and the Lord is quickening these times, man. Now days don't even feel like days anymore. Years feel like a few months. We're already halfway through the year of 2026. So it's like, these things are happening to where things are speeding up, and since time is going fast, it's so much time we're wasting being distracted, Again, going into the doomsday scrolling, and again, I speak for myself first and foremost, because, there'll be times where I find myself doing something that isn't really productive, and that's, I'll say I'm a pretty productive guy when it comes down to it, for the most part, but there's times where it's like, you're doing something, it's just like, what are you doing? Like, what am I doing? Or something like that. I was talking about that earlier, about how, how weak this place gets you when it comes to the food, when it comes to just about everything. It's Slovakia. It'll make a person have it to where, like, things get harder for them to do simple tasks, simple things, Their minds is all messed up. And I remember seeing something on here as far as like how, the average person now is a lot dumber. The people are getting a lot dumber in a lot of ways, and I see that now too, It's like how the structure of certain things is just a lot dumber, and it's a whole lot of things, when it comes to, I was talking about how just a bunch of stuff that goes on here, like a guy could easily just make a fool of himself and, humiliate himself on camera and just get a lot of views and then start getting into money, and now he's looked at as famous. Look at the I Show Speed guy, not to bring him up, but it's just like the screams that he does and all this crazy stuff, and he just does it to where he copies certain things that he just copies and just goes around, just does a lot of different things. But it's like, he's doing these things and he's just getting a lot of money and a lot of people like him. But it's just like, this is what makes money. You know, a person could be on a camera and just do anything, just about anything, as long as it's like humiliating yourself and, you know, yeah, just something stupid, you know. Let me get on. Hold up. All right, Salaki, I was camera thing, but this is 1 Corinthians chapter 2. I believe this is it. The foolishness of this world. You know, we bring this out a lot, but it's a fact. You know, it's all truth. You know, we do this because we just to back ourselves up, because the scriptures back us up, our words, right? So, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 2, and I'll just get straight to the point. Verse 14, it says, "But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of the Most High." It says, "For they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned." This is one of them, but I don't think this is the one I'm thinking of. Hold up, Salakia. All right, it's over one. Let me see. Yeah, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 19. It says, "For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High. For it is written, He will take the wise in their own craftiness. And again, the Lord knoweth the thoughts of the wise, that they are vain. Therefore let no man glory in men, for all things are yours." See, again, the ways of this world is foolishness, right? So he knows the inward part of man. Then he goes into the wise, which you got to understand that the Heavenly Father destroyed the wisdom of this world. That's in 1 Corinthians, the 1st chapter, I believe. Or is it? Yeah, this is it. Because it's like he made foolishness. So let's get it. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 1. And yep, I'll start at verse 18. It says, "For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved it is the power of the Most High. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Hath not the Most High Yahweh made foolishness or foolish the wisdom of this world?" And he has. You know, there are a lot of things that go on, man. Like a lot of things that these people be saying, man. I like, especially at my plantation, you know, my job or whatever. It's like, it's so bad, man. Just hearing, mind you, because I'm quiet at my place and everything like that. And I just, you know, let people talk. I feel like when brothers come into this truth, man, you do less talking and you just do a lot of just listening, you know, especially when it comes to this world and how this world is, man, because we realize more and more when we talk and talk and talk, you kind of get yourself a little in trouble. And I've been in that situation where I talk and I say a little too much. So it's like, yeah, And a lot of times too, again, you just say to them, it's like, now people, you don't necessarily want to be around people when you're in this truth, man. The scriptures say, be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. So it's like a lot of people you're going to be around is people that aren't really into what you're into, or really, and all in this truth, man. Not trying to be caught up. The scriptures talk about, not to be entangled with the affairs of this life. You can't be, all in this world, man. So that's a side note, because I hear brothers all the time say that, they're quiet at their jobs and everything like that. And I feel like that's how you should be. If you constantly talking all the time, it shows like what you doing. Which is not wrong to talk, but it's just blur out all your business and stuff. It's just crazy. But that's a side note. But, at the job, you have the people that just like to talk. And you hear their talking and what they're into and so many things, man. It's like, you're not going to say anything, of course, but you just listen and you're like, oh, yeah, it's crazy. And then you laugh, like fake laugh. Everybody got a fake laugh, right? So it's like, you hear these people and what they're into. It's like, this place got to be destroyed, man. A lot of these people are freaking wicked as all hell, man. And the wisdom, the again, like it says, destroying the wisdom of this world. And it's like he made foolishness the wisdom of this world, because how people are acting and people are like things that they shouldn't be doing, they're doing, and it's like, what are you doing? But that's them, because they have no structure, no guidance. What's the scripture? Better is he that's... No, let me get that. Salakia. This is second... No, not second. No. Ecclesiasticus chapter 20. All the way down. And verse 32, it says, necessary patience in seeking the Lord is better than he that leadeth his life without a guide. And that's for real. You're seeking after the Lord, seeking wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Lord. What should I do in this situation? You don't go off of your own opinion. You don't go off of your own vain opinion and everything. The scriptures talk about lean not upon thine own understanding. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, right? That's Proverbs, the 3rd chapter. So, we're not going to go off of ourselves. We're not going to, judge things according to what we know. No, we're going judging off of judging things according to this word, man. Like, is this the right thing to be doing? Should I really be doing this? Should I really be doing that? We're using wisdom. And then another thing too, when you do things, scriptures talk about use wisdom to those that are without. And that's these 2/3, man. That's 2/3 of our people. What kind of freaking crazy shit is going on here, man? Get you caught up in something that you shouldn't be caught up in. That's a whole nother thing, So it's as far as just distractions and being caught up, you can't be caught up, man, at all. In some like a lot of stuff like Jake be caught up in, man, and it gets them in trouble, Shalakia, I gotta bring this out, man. What's that? See something. It might be 2 Corinthians. I mean, not 2 Corinthians, the 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 4, straight to the point. It says, no man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. Again, we're chosen, right? Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you. That's John 15. Okay? So, Yahweh Shai, who the world normally calls Jesus Christ, he chose a specific few men. I mean, these men, and they are not to be distracted. You know, this is a job. Yahweh Shai himself said that he's about his father's business, man. So he didn't take any breaks. He didn't do anything he wasn't supposed to be doing. You know, he kept going. You know, he was a perfect example of what to be. He is the perfect example, not even was. He is the perfect example of what we strive to be. You know? So let me read that again. It says, no man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life. Entangle, let's look up entangle. It says, entangle oneself with, entangle therein, entwine. Yeah, just being caught up in everything. It says inweave. It says involve in. See, don't get yourself involved in all this crazy stuff. And that's another thing too, man. It's so many things that we got to be thinking about when it comes to, especially, you know, certain things where family. You know, family is nice. You know, we love family. Family is nice. It's okay to be around family. But there's a lot of times where family will get you in trouble. You know, family will make you weak. A lot of times family, you know, well, I'll say even this. Family will get you in trouble, man. It really, man, make you do something that you really shouldn't be doing. You know, got that one cousin, you know, that was never good. Never, it was looked at as just no good. And you just so happen to be around this guy or a girl, whatever, so to speak, right? And certain things you may have done with this person back then, but now you're a changed man. You changed. We changed and became a new creature, you know? And they don't look at you the same. You know? They still look at you as the guy that was once doing whatever it is that you was doing back then. You know? But now you being born again, right? Letting go of those things that you once were doing and while you was in the world. What does it say? That I call you out of the world. He took Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? Took us out of the world, man. Out of the world. So we're not doing the worldly things anymore. You know? What does it say? The scripture says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, and when I grew up, I put away childish things. Roughly paraphrasing. So, or when I'm old, I put away childish things. So that's how it is, man. We were babies. We were babies in the spirit, right? May not be physically, but spiritually, we're babies. You know, babies coming into this, newborn babes, right? That's in the book of Peter. Desiring the sincere milk of the scriptures, man. You know, as newborn babes. That's what it says. So when we're babies, you know, being born again, we become a new creature. And now we don't do those things anymore, man. But they can't see that, you know. And you don't want to remind them. You don't want to remind them of what you was back then. No, it was a nice memory, but the memories is meant to be a past is meant to be in the past. That's why it's called the past, because you're past it, right? You don't go back to the past. No, you go forward. You move forward. You know, and there's people that you may have in your life that you may need to cut off, you know, and because they were so caught up in the past, you know, and all you can talk about is the past. And when you have those people that you continuously are reminded of the past, you ain't going anywhere. You're not going anywhere with that person, because that person likes the person, like that person stays in the past and wants you to go backwards. It's only going to bring you backwards, right? So again, can't emphasize this enough as far as just staying away from certain things, certain people, because you don't want to be caught up in something that you know damn well you shouldn't be caught up in, man. You could be the most innocent person in the world, but if you're around someone that is not a bad person, you're screwed because you're gonna be caught up in the mix, in the crossfire and all that stuff, man. Because you just so happen to get that one drink from this coworker of yours, this one drink from this cousin that you no longer talk to, but all of a sudden now you do again, just for old time's sake, You got to be careful, man. You got to be careful. There's a lot of distractions, a lot of things that'll make you just vulnerable. And that's another thing. I ain't gonna lie, the spirit is really, really on the time of this whole week, when it comes down to people doing things for you. Because even this, the scriptures say, this is the key. When it says, the scriptures say, a gift destroyeth the heart. Why does it say that? Why does it say a gift destroyeth the heart? Now, a gift, right, is normally considered to be a good thing, right? But the thing is, a lot of times when people receive something, they get vulnerable. They get opened. It sometimes gets to them to where it messes with them. So a gift destroyeth the heart going back to the word lab, which means mind. So when somebody's doing something for you or wants to do something for you, you don't always have to say yes. Okay? You don't always have to say yes. You can say no. And a lot of times, really, you should say no. Because it's terms that I'll say this is people that I have dealt with in the past where they have done something for me and they say, oh, since I did this for you, now you have to do this for me. And you get caught up in certain things. Now you somehow owe them something. And I'm not saying that that's everybody, but there is people out there like that, that will use you, do something small, and then have you caught up in something now because they did this specific thing for you. And you may have talked to this person and you just have to be cool, right? So now they just automatically assume, oh, here's my friend. We'll just hang out together. And then you just may hang out one time and now this person just wants to hang out all the freaking time. It's like, no, man. And they don't even get a grip, man. So it's like, again, entangling. You're putting yourself in a position where you shouldn't really be in. You do certain things from a distance. That's how I see a lot of people. I don't even have anybody that I can consider to be close to me. So let me read that again. Salakia from my long one. It says, no man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. It comes, look, man, at the end of the day, forget everybody. Forget everybody, your friends, your family, and everything like that, because it's first Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, man. Okay? That's the first, because why? We trying to get out of here, man. Okay? Scripture say, arise and depart, for this is not your what? Your rest. I'm not saying to forget family, friends, everything like that, but you got to understand, look at this. Look at this. Let's hope that I can get back to that, because there's still more, I believe. But, what's that? Because it's a lot of things we got to, Scripture talk about forsaking housing and family and mother, father. You will receive 100-fold, all in all, it's all back to, you know, the kingdom, man. Getting out of here. That reward. Yahweh Shai crowning us. If we be a part of that number, Lord, will we be a part of that number, man? You know? Salakia. Here we go. This is Matthew chapter 10 and verse yeah, whew. Yeah, let's read into it. Or better yet, nah, let's not read into it. Let's get straight to the point. It says, verse 36, it says, and a man's foes shall be be they of his own household, right? And that's the truth, man. You know, your own family, your own kin, you know, can get you in trouble, man. That's what I was getting into. Because you never know, man. You know, say for instance, you may have somebody that, you know, a brother or a sister that you really, you know, you love dearly. Of course, I love my brother and I love my sister and I love my mom and I love my dad. But when it comes to this truth, you got to put the truth first, man. You know, it says what? He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. He that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And that's another thing too. I don't necessarily have kids, but I know for a fact that kids can be a distraction to a lot of things. And say like this, on a carnal level, on a lower level, say you got to go to work and you got to pay some bills. You may have to do some overtime. You got to sacrifice certain things for this job. You know, sacrifice spending time with your son, which we are living this, and this is a sad time, you know, where we can't even do the things that we want to do. Because why? This world does not allow us to. You know, there's gonna be times where you want to stay home and you know, bring around your kid and everything like that, but you gotta go to work. That's on a carnal level, on a lower level, but on a higher level, on a spiritual aspect, as far as this truth. There's times where, you know, your son, you know, you're with your son, you're with your daughter, or something like that. Yeah, you know, and they may be distracting you. Say you may be studying, and they are trying to study. And they come in and you know, every single time trying to distract you, trying to come in and play with you. You can't do that, you know? Because it's like, here it is, you go ahead and play with your kids and you're doing, you know, attending to your kids all the time and everything like that. And ends up making you weak, you know? You're not preparing yourself for that time to come. You know? You're not putting the Lord first. You know? Certain times where you may have to skip out on a what's it? Maybe a game that the son may have or something like that, because you got to do this work, you know? Now I'm not saying that, you know, you gotta always, like, what's the word for it? All in all, as far as this word, it needs to be brought out, man. We're here to do a specific job, man. You know? That's the point. You know? It says, it's not worthy of me. It says, verse 38, and he that take not his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. So it's a lot of sacrifice, you know. It's to make us stronger and to get through and to endure to the end. Okay? To endure to the end. We're gonna be in a brutal time when all hell breaks loose, man. The scriptures say that what's it? They won't let me get it. Salakia. This is Second Ezra chapter 15. In verse 19, straight to the point. This whole chapter is good, but just to get to the point, it says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of lack of bread and for great tribulation. This is what's going to happen, man. You know, a man is not going to have no pity upon his neighbor. You know, a person that is hungry, they're going to do anything. They're going to go like madmen, you know, sparing none, scriptures say, right? Like a madman sparing none. This is not a game where you just love the, nah, man. It's a lot of enemies, man. A lot of people that's going to get hurt, you know. A lot of people are going to die in that day, man. A lot of people are just gonna drop like flies, you know? And oh man, so much stuff that's going to be going on, and it's to prepare. Look, this time that we have now, we take it and we prepare for it. You know? We prepare for it. But let me go back to 2 Timothy. I think that was the point. Yeah, I think that was the point. So entangling and and everything. But going back as far as just the distractions, let's get into what's that? I believe it is in Corinthians. Here it is. This is yep. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 29. It says, "But this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none." Right? It says, "And they that weep as though they wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they that buy as though they possess not, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passeth away." And that's the point. So we gotta understand that this place is temporary. It's not anything that we should really be gawking at and be like, yo, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, all these different things, and it's just not good to be thinking these things. Arise ye in the part, for this is not your rest. Micah 2 and 10. You know, we gotta understand where we're at here, man. You know, and not get distracted. You know, because there's times where I find myself being distracted, and honestly, really just on your body, your mind is on autopilot. You know, I find myself on autopilot a lot of times, especially at the plantation. You're just going through the motions, man, you know, and just time just goes. And you're not even paying attention, you know. A lot of times I feel like I'm not even here, you know, and I got to snap out of it and be like, whoa, go back. Let's go back. Let's do something different. Let's try to, get into the scriptures. Let's do a lesson. Let's take a day off to meditate, pray, fast, certain things to get out of that routine, man. You can't put yourself automatically into some sort of just which I was looking before I turned the camera on, as far as like the hamster wheel. I thought there was like some type of saying with it, which there is, but it wasn't what I was looking for. Because when you think about it, you have the hamster in the cage, you have the wheel, you have the water. You know, that wheel, it goes back on that wheel, keep going, going, going. It's lunchtime. You start drinking, and then you freaking eat and everything like that. You go to sleep, and then you wake up, you go on that hamster again. It's the hamster wheel. It's just constantly that effect that is majority of our people, man. You know, constantly stuck in their ways, just constantly doing the same thing over and over and over again. What do we say every single time we go to the plantation or go to work? Like, hey, how you doing? Same shit, different day. You know? Same stuff, different day. There's no different, nothing different. There's nothing new. I remember, man, seeing somebody, it was years, right? It's been about 5, 6, 7 years. I haven't seen this person, and I'm like, yo, what you been doing? Same stuff, different day. Nothing this person has done. Like, same job, same interest, same everything. Nothing has changed. You know? So, it just shows, again, it's a lot, man, but not being distracted, right? It says, let's skip down. This is verse 35. It says, and I speak this for your own profit, not that I may cast a snare upon you, but for that which is comely, and that ye attend upon the Lord without distraction. Right. So Paul, in this whole thing, he was just getting into marriage, you know? And what I noticed as well, as far as the Corinthians, had a lot of problems, a lot of different things going on in the Corinthians. So that's why Corinthians was so long, because there were so many issues, you know, so many things that was out of order, you know, and one of them being, you know, the order of things, you know, as far as and that's another thing. That's also why I'm not gonna lie. I might do a lesson on this too, on how like First Corinthians, from what I've seen as far as First Corinthians, the whole First Corinthians is all about Paul teaching them certain things as far as what's right and what's wrong, and going into the marriage and going into a lot of things. And the Second Corinthians is when they started bucking up against Paul, you know. So trying to question his faith, you know. But that's a whole nother thing. But point is, as far as this is talking about the marriage per se, not per se, but you can apply this to a lot of other things, you know. So yeah. But I was gonna just get this last thing too, and then I'm gonna probably come to a close. It's in Second Esdras. All right, this is Second Esdras, chapter 7. Point is at 7, I believe, but I want to read into it. I kind of want to see what this says in the NLT, or not NLT, the GNT. Salakia. Yeah, I just read the other versions, but nah, KJV's better, man. But let's get into it. This verse 5. Matter of fact, I will start at verse 3. It says, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 7 and verse 3. It says, and I said, speak on, my power. Then said he unto me, the sea is set in a wide place, that it might be deep and great. Verse 4. But put the case, the entrance were narrow, and like a river. Who then could go into the sea to look upon it and to rule it? Right? If he not through the narrow, how could he come into the broad? It says, there is also another thing. A city is built or builded and set upon a broad field and is full of good things. Verse 7, and that's the kingdom, right? So already it said a sea is on one hand, right? A body of water is on one hand. And then it started talking about a city, which that city is the kingdom, right? New Jerusalem, man. Okay? That is the new city. It says, right, all full of good things. The entrance thereof is narrow and set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand and on the left a deep water. See? So again, on the right hand is fire, and on the left hand is water. And that thing, that's pretty much the point. But the reason why I bring this out is because it's when coming into this, man, you gotta, the scriptures say, oof, let me get that. Enter ye in at the straight gate. I think Matthew the 7th chapter. Yep, Matthew chapter 7 and verse. Hey, that's crazy. That's 7 and 7. 2nd Ezra 7, Matthew 7. But I just like 7. But 7 and 13. Enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is this gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. So again, enter into the straight gate. When you are in this truth, you come into this truth, that's you entering into the straight gate, man. You know? So this gate, this leads to the kingdom. Ultimately, this works hand in hand. This scripture in particular is hand in hand with 2nd Ezra 7th chapter about the sea, on the water, the body of water on the left and the fire on the right. It says, verse 14, because strait is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that go in thereat, that find it. Slakia. So for many are called, but few are chosen, man. You know? Many are called, but few are chosen. It's only a specific few that is going to be able to make it and endure to the end, man. Okay, I wanted to bring that out, you know, just to get a better understanding as well. Because narrow is that straight line, man. That straight line. Okay? And I normally say in this thing where the fire and the water, you may fall in certain times. In the fire, you may fall in the water. It's not falling that is the hard part. It's getting up is. Falling is easy. You know, it's easy to fall. That's why it's like one of those things where it's like it's easy to be wicked, man. You see a lot of Jake, man, their lives and everything like that, and the way they living, they're living an easy life when it comes down to it, man. But when you come into this truth, and you putting away the old man, and you trying to turn from your wicked ways, and you going into that lifestyle. That's a lifestyle. This is a lifestyle, man. You know, this is a lifestyle that we live. You know, making this a part of us. So if we are entering into that straight gate, can't fall, man. But if we do, God forbid, then you get back up and you continue to walk straight. You know, maybe a time where you kind of edge off somewhere else, but you got to keep going straight, man. You got to fix yourself, you know? And that fixing ultimately goes into examining yourself, making sure you're good. You know, what's that? 1 Corinthians 13:5. Examine thyself, whether that be in the whether you be in the faith, or whether you be a reprobate, man. And that reprobate spirit is a wicked spirit, man. You know, reprobate mind, man. So it says, verse 8, and one only path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could be one man go there at once. So again, only one man can go at a time. So small that only one man can walk at a time. That's how small this thing is. Okay? That's how hard it is. That's how hard this truth is, man. You know, you got to take your time. You got to take your time. You know, it's like being, if you ever been on a balance beam. You know, I've worked at a place, resort, and they had like a ropes course, and I walked, you know, balance beams and everything like that. So yeah, when you walk those things, you can't be running on those things. You could fall. You know, so you gotta get careful. And then you gotta what? You gotta start over. You gotta start over again. Okay. So these things happen where you may be going too fast, man. Doing things too, you know. You got, and then another thing too, when you go fast, you miss a lot. You miss a lot, and then let's be honest here. You got to go back sometimes. Retrace your steps where you left off. Sometimes you lose your way. You know, forget certain things where, well, you got to go back and remember. You know, remember what love you had in the first place when you first came into this truth, man. You know, yeah, that's the point. But yeah, man, this is a lifestyle, and this is something that we need to take to consider all the time, man. To consider what's the word for it? Considering, well, I'll say this, yourself and how you are. What are you doing in this? What are you doing right now? What are you doing on your days off? Are you being distracted? Are you constantly you know, are you actually watching? Are you staying in the spirit? You know, for the most part, what are you doing? The scriptures say, "Blessed is that servant whom the Lord shall find so doing." Roughly paraphrasing, man. So you gotta be doing the right thing and not be caught with your pants down, man. You know. So I'm gonna end it here. Salakia for my long one. I pray that you've been edified. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who do rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect that are scattered abroad. And with that I say, Shalom.